Hello, welcome to the second lecture in Computer Skills module. I'm your instructor, Dr. Murat Tunç. Today, what we'll do is we'll start the second chapter in our module called Elementary Programming. But before we do that, we will start off with a summary from last week. Okay. So last week we wrote our first program together. So we printed "Hello World" on console by writing up print and then using the parentheses and the double quotations. We wrote "Hello World" inside. So whatever you have inside this double quotation marks, that is printed out to the console. So this is what the print function does for us. And then we learned what a statement is. For instance, in this program, our statement was print. So statement represents an action or a sequence of actions. So in this program, we only have one statement, that is the print statement. However, on an average program, the number of statements is hundreds or thousands even. And then we learned how to write a comment. Commenting is a good programming habit to have, although it is not necessary. It is most of the times useful because nowadays we don't write programs by ourselves and for ourselves. We write it for someone else to read it and then build up on it. So for instance, in this our first program, the comment line was, "This program prints hello world," right? So this is the first line over here that you see in green that starts with a pound sign. So whenever you write a pound sign, everything turns green. I'll just show you quickly on an Jupyter Lab, for instance. So just ignore the two here. Focus on the last tab. For instance, if I write print, or maybe this program prints hello world. See, it's all black. And then when you put a pound sign, I'll just do it again. So when you, for instance, do a pound sign in here, all this black will turn to green, right? So, and now when you run this, it doesn't run anything because it's only a comment that the compiler skips this part. So for instance, this comment from our last week's lecture, the compiler completely ignores this part because it's only a comment for humans. It's not a statement for the computer. This, however, is the statement for the computer. It prints hello world. When you run this, it prints hello world, just like you see it over here. And we also learned about the special symbols. For instance, we learned that opening and closing parentheses used with functions and methods, pound sign used for a comment, and double quotations, opening and closing, used to enclose a string or a series of characters that you would like to print out. In this particular example, the string, the series of characters, is hello world. And then we learned programming errors. So in particular, there are two programming errors. One is a syntax error. A syntax error is detected by the compiler So you know where the error is. The compiler, um, in our particular example, Jupyter Lab tells you, okay, so you made an error in this line. Line 8, there is an error. But the logic errors, so they're not detected by the compiler, and they produce incorrect results. For instance, in this particular example, there is a syntax error, and that is this program prints hello world. So we actually forgot to put the closing of the quotations. So there must be another quotation mark here, but it's missing. So that's a syntax error. But this was a logic error because what the logic of this program is, this program prints the average of 3 plus 4. And the average of 3 and 4 is what we have here, 3 plus 4 divided by 2. Although this is supposed to print 3.5, it does not print 3.5. It actually prints 5 because we forgot to put the parentheses for the mathematical operation, because without the parentheses, what it does is it divides 4 by 2, and that is 2, and then 3 plus 2, and that's a 5. That's what you see it over here. But it's supposed to print 3.5. So how do we eliminate that error? How do we make it print 3.5? We first make it do the addition operation, 3 plus 4 by a parentheses, and then 7 by 2, let's make it 3.5. Okay, so this is what we did last week. Today we are going to start off elementary programming, a bit more advanced stuff, but still I'm going to take it easy on you guys because I want this lecture to be, so this is one of the most important lectures. I want you to grasp what is going on. We are going to actually start off with a group study, an in-class exercise that roughly takes 10 minutes. So we are going to try all together. I'm going to write up. You can also do it in your computers. You can, stop the video and then just follow up what I'm writing. So we are going to write a program that does the two things. First, it reads in an input as the radius of a circle, and then it calculates and prints the area of a circle. Okay, so for that I'm going to open Jupyter Lab, and then I'll start File, New Notebook. That's a Python 3, and then I'm going to rename file, rename notebook as lecture 2. Okay, I'm going to close this one as well, so that I only have this. Okay, so what are we supposed to do? Let's think of this program together. Let's look at the instructions one more time. Write a program that reads in an input. So we are going to read in an input as the radius of a circle. So what is a circle? So a circle is a geometric shape, right? And the radius is this guy. So it's called R. So we are going to ask someone to give us the radius of a circle that they want to be calculated, the area. And then we are going to calculate and print the area of the circle. We have three tasks. We first read in the input, and then we calculate and print the area. Okay, so step 1, I'll just write it as a comment. I'll skip the name. You can write your name, computer skills, fall 2021 lecture 2. So you can start off with this if you like to, and then we will have step 1, read in the radius as an input, and then step 2, calculate and print the area of a circle. Okay, so that's the 2 steps that we are going to write up something in between here, and then another thing here, so that it prints out what we're supposed to do. Okay, so how are we going to approach this? So we first need to know how to design an algorithm. Okay, so an algorithm is required for even writing a simple program. We first think about what the steps, the list of actions needs to be taken, right? So it can be in a pseudocode or in our natural language. So this is what we did here. So this is our algorithm. We first have the step 1. We are going to do reading in the radius, and then we'll calculate and print the area of the circle. So this is our algorithm. We designed the program. So here you can also do it in 3 steps. Algorithm to calculate the area of a circle. Step 1, read in the circle's radius from the user. That's our first step. Read in the radius. Step 2, compute the area using the formula. Let's actually do divide these steps into 2. So calculate or compute the area, and then the third step here is display the result. That's the printout, the result. Okay. We used to have the step 2 and 3 combined, but we can also separate them. Okay, so now we are going to translate the algorithm that we designed into a program. Now you need a bit of the cheat codes of the programming language, because in the first step we are supposed to read in the radius from the user. So we didn't learn about it. We are going to learn it for the first time in this program, but we are going to use this function just like the print function in the previous lecture. We are going to use that reading in from the user a lot of times, okay? And then compute the area, display the area. So how do we do it? So this is new, right? Okay. New function or method. So we are learning a new function today. It is the input function, okay? So just like print, we have a parentheses, opening and closing, and we have the double quotations and some text in between. Okay, so let me actually show you how it works first. So input, okay, please, and input, please input the radius of a circle and press enter. Okay, so I'm going to run this, so you can actually write pieces of codes and then run and see what it does. Okay, so here we only have, So the computer skips this part, the compiler skips this part, and then it goes to the input statement. So it prints, please input the radius of a circle and press enter. So we have, let's say 10, right? And then we press enter, and then this program stopped. So here, 10, just print it out without, being reusable. What is our intention is to read in the radius and then store it as a variable here. So this is another new functionality that we are learning, equal sign, okay? So it's pretty straightforward. Equal sign assigns, looks like a Q, assigns so you have an equal sign. Let's say you have R, and then there is 10, okay? So what equal sign does, it assigns the right-hand side, I'll just write it short, right-hand side to the left-hand side. So this one is the right-hand side. So that's the right of the assigned sign. And this one is the left-hand side. That is the left of the assigned sign. So what it does is assigns the value on the right to the variable on the left. Okay. So if we write up using the equal sign, if we have, for instance, if we rerun this again, and then let's have 10. So here, 10, we entered it. It goes in as a right-hand side value. And then using the assign sign, now the value of the radius variable is 10, okay? So that's how we read in the radius as an input. So two things we learned today in this particular step. We have the equal sign, and then we learned this new function that is called input. And then we turn radius into a float. So float is another new function. So another function that we are learning today, that is float. So what it does, it converts a number to or it converts anything to a number with decimals. So it converts, can convert strings as well. Converts string or integer values to a number with decimals. So what I mean by this is, so for instance, if you input 10 or let's say 7.5, okay, so we can print, let's actually do it step by step. So we run this, we input 10, and then we print the radius. So the radius is 10, but if we, for instance, would like to do some mathematical calculations, that we are going to get an error because of the following. Radius is, at this moment, is a string. So 10 is you see 10 as a number here, but the type of radius is class str. So it is a string unless we turn it to a number, okay? So this is what it does. So it converts string or integers to numbers with decimals. So if you have, for instance, 10, it after this, so float 10, so it used to be a string, now it becomes a number. Again, the equal sign takes the right hand side and sets it to the left hand side. So now radius is 10 as a number. Okay? So that's why we need the float function to convert the string to a number with decimals. So it's actually 10.0, but the details we'll talk about it in the next slides. Okay, I'll quickly. So you can stop the or like you go back in the video and then look at the slide. I'm going to move to the second one. So now we read in the radius from the user. Let's actually, yeah. So we have radius equals float radius. It's actually a good exercise. If you print the type of radius before and after, let's actually do it. So we first read in, and then we are going to print the type after input, and then we convert the radius into a number, and then we print the type again. Here you'll see what I mean. So let's say 10, right? So first, the type of radius was str, that stands for a string. And then the second part, after the conversion to a number, the number here means float, because this is a number with decimals. It prints zero, it prints class float. And then if you print the actual value that radius stores, make it a bit short, okay, I have 10 here, used to be a string, and then it was exactly 10. Now it becomes a number with decimals, meaning that it's 10.0, but 10.0 doesn't make it any different than 10, right? It just shows that it's the number now, okay? So this I am going to delete because I just wrote it to explain you what the float conversion does. Okay, so we have two more steps. First, we are going to compute the area of a circle. So how do we do it? The area of a circle, so you have a circle here. You have the radius. The area is pi times r squared, right? Or it's pi times r multiplied by r. R is the radius, and this one is the pi, 3.14159. Okay, so we define a new variable called area that is equal to radius multiplied by radius multiplied by 3.14159. Okay, that's the second step, easy. And the last step is, now we print the area of a circle. The area of a circle with radius, so you end this text here, the area of a circle with radius, put a comma, and then put radius. So this actually what it does is, it takes up the value of the radius and then prints it out. So it doesn't print radius as it as in here. So here it prints the text radius. Here it prints the value, which is 10 or 10.0 is, here again, we have a comma. We close the double quotation, we put a comma, and then we put up the area. So here again, it's not going to print area as a text. It's going to print the area, whatever the area that we computed. Okay. So final part, print the area of a circle with radius. Now we stop writing the text. We are going to print out the value of the radius with 2 commas, and then another double quotation mark is, and then we are going to print out area. Okay. Here we go. So let's say radius of a circle is 10. And then what it prints out here is the area of a circle with radius 10.0. Here it takes the 10.0 out. So up until here, this is exactly this one. And then we have 10.0 as the value of the radius. Is goes on here. And then area is 314, okay? So that's what we calculated here. So 10 multiplied by 10 is 100, multiplied by this pi, it's 314. Okay. So let's trace down what we wrote, okay? So we first have the radius, a new variable, and then what the computer reads in from top to above, and then it defines a space for a new variable called radius without any value. So whenever you type in radius now, it's going to go to that place and then takes up the value from there. But now there is no value because we didn't set up any value. So it only allocates a memory space for radius. And then it first looks at the left-hand side, and then it goes to the right-hand side, and then it opens up the input file that we are seeing here. So please input the radius, and then assume that the user inputs 7.5. So we did 10. Now we're just assuming an example. So let's say user said 7.5 it is. At that point, the 7.5 becomes the value of the radius, okay? So it assigns 7.5 as the value of the radius. It used to be blank, now it's 7.5. And then the 7.5 used to be a text, a string, and then we convert it to a numeric value. And then we calculated the area. Again, area equals, so there is a memory allocation for area variable that's now empty. And then we compute the area by multiplying radius times 3 the pi, and that's whatever it is. So it computes the area, assigns it to the variable area, and then when it displays the area using the 2, okay? So we have another exercise. So I'm going to make, so the first exercise we did was together. So this is a similar one. It goes, write a program that reads in a Celsius degree from the user. So for instance, 35 Celsius. And then it converts the Celsius to a Fahrenheit using this formula. So Celsius multiplied by 1.8 8, that is 9 by 5, plus 32. And then after the conversion, it displays the result to the console. So it's very similar to what we did. So I'm going to stop this video now. I'm going to let you work on it for the next 10 minutes or so, but take your time. It doesn't have to be 10 minutes. And then whenever you're done, I'm going to start off the new video recording. You can follow up from the next video, okay? So take a 10-minute, do a self-study, write this program, and then I'll see you in the next video.